The first rule is stand up straight with your shoulders back, and it's really a description of the ancient nature of hierarchies, their almost universal existence among living creatures, and the fact that you have extraordinarily ancient and profound neurological systems that really govern your psyche, that process hierarchical information. It's such an important psychological fact to know. I don't know if there's another biological fact that's more crucial than that. It's the serotonin system is the system that tracks hierarchical information, and it's so crucial that it actually sets up your brain in utero. So it's the master control system of the brain. If you thought about the brain as a symphony, which is actually a pretty good way of thinking about it from a metaphorical perspective, the serotonin system would definitely be the conductor. So there's rule 1, and then there's rule 7, which is do what is meaningful, not what is expedient. And it's also, at least in part, a neurological chapter, because one of the things I learned really a lot from reading Russian neuropsychology, strangely enough, the Russians had great neuropsychologists, was that the sense of meaning, the sense of engagement that characterizes life when life is progressing in the manner that you would like it to progress is actually an instinct. It's not a cognitive phenomenon. It's not a second-order consequence of thought. It's way deeper than that. It's an extraordinarily profound instinct. And so that's really worth thinking about, assuming, as you might, that we're adapted creatures and that our instincts guide us in the world so that we can survive and so that we can reproduce and so that we can exist over long periods of time. The fact that an instinct of that depth exists and that it's associated with the sense of vital engagement in being, let's say, is a good indication, as good an indication as there is, that there's something truly real about it. And I would say that might even be more important than the knowledge of the role that the serotonin system plays in adjudicating hierarchical position. Because we tend to think of meaning as something that people create as a secondary consequence through thinking or through philosophy or something like that. And when we think that, it's easy to criticize it. It's easy to become cynical about it. It's easy to lose faith in it. But when you understand that it actually is a much deeper phenomenon than that, and that the cognitive elements, the philosophical elements, are sort of like, well, they're like the fronds on the top of the pond on a plant system that has unbelievably deep roots that go way down into the water. There's something about that that's much firmer and more solid. And I think the evidence that meaning is an instinct, a deep, deep instinct, is overwhelming. I don't think that popular knowledge has caught up with that. I mean, the research it's not new, but it's been done, I would say, in the main in the last 30 years or so, and mostly by psychobiologists, like people who are really on the hard science end of psychology. And their work is difficult. It's technically difficult. It involves a lot of neurobiology, neuroanatomy, psychopharmacology. It's hard work. It's hard going, but it's unbelievably useful.